the Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everyone, you're with Simone Milasas. Welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. So I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and this is going to be a little bit of a different podcast because one of the amazing, phenomenal people that I work with said to me, you know what, we just had this great meeting about the upcoming 10-month course that I have on getting out of debt joyfully. And she said, I want to cut snippets from it and show people what it's like for us to create. So what we're going to launch into is some of our meeting that we had on getting out of debt joyfully. So I'm actually starting this 10-month course on February. I think it's about February 17th, but you can check it out on gettingoutofdebtjoyfully.com/2019. And it's actually going to be in about 9 different languages, which is really, really cool. And I'm super excited about it. So on this meeting, we had the people that I work with and that are in my main we call it a dazzle. We don't call it a team. A dazzle is like a group of zebra and there's no team. A lot of the times when people have a team, they tend to go to, well, who's in charge? Who's leading this? Whereas a dazzle, if you look at a dazzle of zebra or zebra, however you want to say it, they tend to pitch in and do what's required. And there's no leader that's in charge. It's like they're all a contribution to each other. So within our dazzle is what we call it. A gaggle would also do that if you want to look that up. Just interesting. You might want to use this terminology at your work. It's sort of fun. So within our dazzle, we have someone who takes care of the social media. We have someone who takes care of, the promotion, the marketing or the translation or whatever that may be. And everybody knows what they contribute. And they're also really willing to step in, if something else is required. If someone's super busy or can't get something done, then they'll step in. And that's literally what a dazzle is. So this meeting we also had with a whole lot of people around the world who are working with us on the different languages and on the promotion, and you'll get to hear them create with us as well. So I just listened to it. It's sort of fun. I really like it. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Yeah, okay. I mean, I love that we're using that tagline of the year to change tracks, because that's actually literally what it has to be. And I know that most of you would probably already have heard, the majority of my story. But the thing was, that's what I did demand, is that I change tracks, because I realized I was creating more and more money problems, more and more getting into debt, more and more not having the money. You would never have been able to tell when you spoke to me that I was in debt or had, money stuff going on, because I was, I'd be like, sure, yeah, let's go out to dinner. Yeah, sure, let's go shopping. Yeah, sure, let's go to Melbourne. I was always saying yes, which I was never being aware of my money. And it was the first class that Gary and Dane did, which is now a book, Money Isn't the Problem, You Are. And that was the class that I sat in the audience and went, crap. And I was like, you know what? I need to change this. And I also demanded that I wasn't going to tell anyone, because what I had discovered, and you guys may discover this as well, except now that you know a lot of Access people and they're more encouraging, there's hardly anyone around you that encourages you to be everything that you be and to be different and to change something that's not working for you, whatever that is. So I realized that I didn't have that, I guess, for want of a better word, support system around me. So I went, okay, I need to change my money stuff. And I went home after Gary and Dan left the Gold Coast, and I went home and got out all my bills and I looked at them all, because I had them all neat and tidy. I just wasn't paying them. And that's when I chose to ring every single person that I owed money to and tell them that I was aware of it and that I would pay them back as soon as I could, even if it was $20, $50 a week. And I was so shocked at what occurred, because there wasn't one person who was cranky at me. There wasn't one person they were also grateful that I actually called them and acknowledged what was going on. So for me, I realized that me changing tracks was acknowledging what I was creating, and then I could change it, which is one of my favorite things with Access is, if you are aware of something, you can change it. If you're not willing to be aware of it, you can't change it. So what if you're willing to be aware of everything? And what if you're willing to be aware of everything with money? Now, one of the things I've noticed as well is that
a lot of people who come onto the class, they don't have to have a money problem. We've had a lot of people on here, like last year, I know there was a bunch of people on who, pinged me throughout the year saying, oh, Simone, this is great. I've just bought more real estate, or I've just increased my company, or I've just bought another company, or I've just done this. So when you talk to people about it, they don't have to be in debt to come on. And it's like, if you'd like more money in your life, then that's a possibility as well. So, I mean, I know for myself, I realize the areas where I start to get comfortable with money. Like, it's like, yeah, I can afford this, I can afford that. And one of the things that Gary and Dane and Brandon and myself were talking about one lunch is, because every time you ask for amount of money, it has this bit of a clunk to it. And this is not necessarily what I would go talking to people about, but it's, what ask are you asking for? Like, what demand do you have in your world? So what about for you guys, what demand do you have in your world? Because for me, it's like the hundreds, if not thousands of people that I have changed their life by this book, they might not have even come on the class, but it's translating to quite a few languages now, and we get a lot of good feedback. If we can change people's lives by this book, by this course, then that matches the energy of what I would like to see in the world. It's like, my demand was never, I must have a convertible BMW, or I must travel first class, or I must, own a house or anything. Those are the things that showed up from me creating the change that I wanted to see in the world, me inviting people to something different. So to me, it's like, what's your ask with this? And it's like, what if we could actually have, like, what if there was a time where you were meeting up with people and everyone you saw, no one was bitching and moaning about money, even at Christmas time. It's like, that would be a really different world. So to me, that's my ask and that's my demand. And it is time to change tracks, not to make money significant. It's like, if you make it significant, it will always be significant. What if the purpose of life was to have fun, which Gary Douglas said many years ago, and I was like, oh my God, that's so refreshing. It's like, what would we choose? So that's the energy I want to create this whole class with. Is that good, Emily? Do you want something else?
Thank you. No, that's awesome. Thank you.
I think we could nearly cut that, Emily, into clips.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, so please.
And as
We're
well,
sneaky.
like what you're saying about your ask and stuff, that's a great time of year to be having that kind of us even having that conversation with other people or on social and stuff like that.
And do people even get like what that is and what they can ask for, and that they can actually ask for like a different financial reality, like this changing tracks thing? Like, what if it is that 2019 is the year that we actually ask for the financial reality we desire to create, which most people are like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I know I didn't before I came to Access and started using these tools, and I'm still figuring it out. So yeah.
So let me do something right now. It's like, so all of you, and it's like, get a figure, an amount of money that you would like to create in 2019. Okay? And
be in the top 1% in the world? Anyone?
This is
top
so
1% in the world. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's go to the top 1%.
What amount is that?
Now, also
427,000, I think, is the U.S. top 1%. 400 AUD is the top Aussie 1%. So take your pick.
Okay. 230,000 in New Zealand. So if you want to go live in New Zealand,
you could go there.
Yeah. But then, and there's like, I think 2.1 million is the average top 1% in New York, but it's not that much. Okay. But if it's top 1% for you, then get the energy of creating in 2019, being in the 1% club. Okay. Or whatever it is for you. It might be 100,000. It might be 1 million. Whatever it is for you, get that amount of money that you're asking for. Okay.
Just for me, for my what does a top 1% mean? I don't get this.
Top 1% earnings in the world.
Oh. Okay, get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the English thing is like, what is this? Yeah, I'm good.
That's what they earn. I mean, how many of you thought that the top 1% was millions and billions? It's not. The top 1% is really minimal. So actually, Lauren, I think we should get a list of what they are for everywhere, like in, Japan, all the countries that we're dealing with here. And then to get that amount of money, okay, that you desire to have and you desire to create. Now what I want you to do is not look at the amount of money, look at what you need to change and look at what you would like to create in the world. It's like, what change what would you have to choose in order to have that show up? But if you make it about what you'd like to create and what it is you'd like to choose and what it is you'd like to change, it's like, do you get the difference in the energy? Like, it's got more of that, to me, it's got more of that dandelion effect, which is the, what do you call it? The branding of access or whatever. When you blow the dandelion and the seeds blow everywhere, it's like, for me, it's like the change I would like to create in the world and the invitation that I would like myself to be with the access consciousness tools that can invite people to massive amounts of change. That's the dandelion effect. We never know where we're going to land up or where we're going to be or who we're going to change or the random places that people show up from. And then the money follows joy, which is something that Dane said many years ago, and it's so true. Money follows joy. Joy doesn't follow money. So what if we even started functioning from that energy of what is our ask, what would we like to create, what we'd like to change, what we'd like to choose? But you invite money to come play with you with that, but you don't make it about the money.
Simone, this is Sylvia. And what's so interesting as you're talking is when you talk about like, what's the change I'd like to create? I mean, those energies, I'm all, yes, yes. And then somehow when I go to money, then it does something weird. And yet it's not about the money, but we are asking to create more. So can you help me with that?
Yes. Well, it's not about the money. None of you create for money. None of you.
Right. No.
None of you create for money. You're a humanoid. Humanoids create because they like to create. And then what I've learned, and definitely what I've learned, and is in the book Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, is I've learned to have fun with money. I've learned to be grateful for money. I've learned to realize that I can, have more luxury. I can get from A to B quicker than trying to find an economy ticket that stops in 5 different places because it's the cheapest ticket. I can buy first class and go from A to B in luxury, drinking champagne and caviar while I work. It's like, it creates more ease in my life, but it's not, I don't create for money. You create because you, like, what is that for you? You mean, for me, it's like, I've always desired to see more change in the world and people to have more awareness of the planet. I mean, years before Access, I wrote this piece on vulnerability. And one of the businesses that I created, Good Vibes for You, I wrote an article on vulnerability because I wanted to create more vulnerability in the world that people would have, like I said, with the planet, with the earth. And also one of the things I wanted to do was create more vulnerability with people. Like, you see so many people when they meet someone, it's like all these barriers go up. And I was like, never made sense to me. I was like, why wouldn't you just be willing to be like, hi, and create something different with every single person you meet? So that was one of the things that I was always demanding. And it's like, it's something that I still demand now. It's like, what if every single person got to acknowledge the greatness of them and the brilliance of them through doing this class, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully? Because you know what? If you're willing to acknowledge the brilliance of you, then you can have money show up. Money wants to play with people who want to play with it.
And that's what I am noticing. Like, as I choose more, it's so funny. I was just in New Zealand and Isaias and I took a road trip and there's pictures we put up and someone's like, oh my God, like I had no idea New Zealand was so beautiful. And now that is one of the places I want to go to. But for me, that's the invitation to enjoy our planet, to see the beauty of our planet. And for me, there is this sense of like living that when we choose that, people can perceive that. And then I do know money follows. And so for me,
you get that energy, Sylvia, like you get that energy of what you just did, the invitation you just were, okay? But it cost you money to get there. It cost you money to go on the road trip. So people always have a wish list of going, oh, I wish I could go to New Zealand, rather than demanding and going, you know what? Saw those photos of Sylvia and her son. I'm going to New Zealand. What's it going to take to get there? And inviting that money to show up instead of going, oh, but I can't afford it. And that's the energy that so many people come with. What if we were a constant invitation to people to have more, to travel more? I mean, the amount of people who want to go to access classes around the world, it's a possibility. It's real. We can create this. Yes. Every single person can do and be whatever the fuck they desire. No one needs to have a money problem. That's the energy I want to come at this with.
So I kind of joke. I have this like, well, if Sylvia can do it, I can do it. Like this joke of like this sense of like to be that space of like, well, shoot, she can do it. There's got to be something like I know I can too. So that's what I'd like to create more in the world. Like it is possible, and I do acknowledge that my financial reality has changed because the way I see it is the planet's not that big and it's not that as it's expensive as we think it is. And yet I did acknowledge, I'm speaking from my financial reality, which is different. So I would love to invite people to have more of that and begin to acknowledge the change. Yeah. So I'm excited for 2019. Good. Thank you, Simone. Yep.
Yeah. And if you want a hashtag not poor t-shirt, contact Mark Kerr.
Yes, I'm going to find him here in
Texas. I can bring one, I can bring one for you. But yeah. So, I mean, let's do that. Hashtag not poor. It's like, there's an adventure out there to have. So let's do it.
Hey everyone, so I hope you enjoyed the little excerpt from our meeting, and I know we spoke about lots of good stuff, being in the top 1%, which is actually, we're going to do a podcast on that because a lot of people didn't realize what being in the top 1% in the world means. And I know for Australia, it's like $450,000. In New Zealand, it's like 230 or 250,000 New Zealand dollars, which is not much money. So we're going to do a whole podcast on that, and we're going to do a whole challenge. It's like, what would it take for you to be a part of the top 1% in the world? Because one of the things I always say is no one needs to have a money problem. And if you tap into the energy in the world of money, it's like there's not a lack of money, but there's people who are choosing a lack of money. But there's plenty around. So what if you were one of the people that could actually start to choose to have more money in your life? And it's like, what would that be like for you? What would you have to choose? And I would love to invite any and all of you onto the 10-month program of Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. Honestly, there are so many things that get created from this. This is actually the third year I'll be doing it. Of course, after the first year, I was like, I'm done. I don't need to do this again. And the amount of people who changed their financial reality and asked for me to do it again. And there's people who are actually doing it each year. You don't need to have a money problem. You don't need to be in debt. But what I noticed is there was a lot of people who increased their financial reality. So it's like, the amount of money you have right now, is that enough for you? Now, I would say, I'm making, I make more and more money each and every year. My schedule gets busier and busier and busier. The company of Access Consciousness expands. It's like, I write more books. I get more books out there. I'm doing different classes. So there's a lot of things that are growing. And with that, my finance grows. And with that, also my expenses expand. But that's something you need to look at too. It's like, as your financial reality expands, how are you creating your life? It's like, what would you like your life to be like? I'm one of the busiest people I know. And it's like I travel around the world pretty much like 10 months of the year is what I'm doing in traveling. I'm in a hotel room right now in Dublin. I'm heading to Warsaw, Poland tomorrow, and then to Houston, and then Australia for 6 days before heading back to Russia. That's how I've created my life. That's the action I'm taking that assists me in creating what I know is possible in the world, which is inviting people to more consciousness, inviting them to find out what it's like to be them and stop trying to be someone else, and what is it that we would like to create here. And what I've noticed is, and as I said in the meeting, it's like I didn't say, I want this convertible BMW, I'd like this. They were not the demands. The demand was that I travel around the world and can get to do these seminars and be a part of creating it, Access Consciousness worldwide, and invite people to something different. And then the money shows up. So, and I've also learned to be able to have money. I used to refuse it. I used to avoid it and refuse it like the plague. And it's like now, it's like I actually love having money. I love being able to choose different things. Like, I'm sorry, traveling first class on a plane compared to economy is way more fun. And what if that could be your reality? Because money follows joy. It's not the other way around. Okay, so are you actually choosing something joyful this year? And as if you've been listening to my podcast, you would have heard me say that I'm claiming 2019 is the year of joy. And what I'm noticing is if you're actually choosing joy, it's quite confronting Because there's many, days or moments where it's like, what's going on? This feels, a little funky, etc. And you know what? Feelings, it's like, that's an invention. It's not real. So you've got to start to ask questions and be incredibly present with yourself and ask, okay, so what is truly going on here? And what can I change? And what can I choose today? And what can I receive today? I mean, have you asked what you can receive today? Even that starts to bring you more joy and will actually start to bring you more money and currency flows as well. So please check out the website gettingoutofdebtjoyfully.com/2019. We start in, I think it's around 17th of February. You get emails each week with some tools, some processes, some videos. So you got to take some action. This is, a commitment that you can make to yourself to actually change your financial reality. And then you get a call with me once a month. And like I said, it's in 9 languages. And I am really looking forward to starting this again because each and every year is completely different. And I want to find out what we can create this year that we haven't been willing to ask for in previous years. What possibilities are available that we have not yet instituted. And it's like, let's contribute to each other. See what this shows up like. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much for joining me here. And if you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, family, foe, whoever. And it's like, my commitment is that the world knows that there's another possibility available. It does not have to be the trauma and drama that so many people choose. You can actually choose a world of joy, and you can choose whatever it is you desire. Every single place that you've decided that you cannot have something, you cannot do something, you cannot be something, you cannot create something, you cannot generate something, will you destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. And again, the clearing statement, go check out theclearingstatement.com. And my wonderful friend, Dr. Dane here, will explain it to you. But you know what? If you've been listening to the podcast, you may have been playing with it for a little while already. It works. It's changed my entire life, that's for sure. So choose joy, choose to have more money in your life, and ask questions that invite money. Okay, thanks. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.